you touched on this was, okay, am I going to college to get a career so I can make lots of money? And so the question that leads me to is, was your goal to go to college to make lots of money? As a first generation student, do you feel like that was more acutely something you were more aware of and more focused on? Do you feel like Lola and Steph, since you've been out of that process, if your mentality has changed in terms of the purpose of going to college, or at least the purpose or what type of career you want to find, how is your perception of finance and financial stability ebbed and flowed through this process?
The opinions I have on this. So when I went to, so I feel like millennials, I'll say people that graduated high school probably 1996 till about 2009. I feel like that we were told from elementary school that the way to be successful in America and to have the American dream was that you had to go to college and get a college degree, that it was a college degree that was going to pull you out of poverty. It was a college degree that was going to put you in the middle class. That's what would do it for you. And so I remember growing up, my mom told me that the Christmas of my senior year of high school, that all she wanted from me was for me to tell her one of two things: where I was going to college or what branch of the military I was going to. Those are my options. And I think as a first-gen college student, a first-gen college family, I don't even think my mom understood the funding, understood that leaving college in so much debt was actually counterproductive to the promises that we were told that college would give to us. And the reality, I was just reading some studies done by the Associated Press, and it says that Black college educated people make less money than white non-college educated people. So basically what that's saying is that we are making less money with a college degree than a group of people make without a college degree. And so I think part of the lie or the misconception that's told to even minority college students is that in some way a college degree is going to bring you some level of financial success and stability that it might not actually bring you. And for instance, my degree is in social work, and I didn't become a social worker because I wanted to make a lot of money, because that's non-existent in social work, actually. And now I work at a tech company, and so those two things in my world didn't overlap a decade ago. And so I think that for me, that the realistic part of making money should be that we don't know how much money you're going to make because we don't know how much debt you're going to have. And that debt stays with you. It doesn't go away. It's always there. When you graduate college, when you want to buy a home, when you want to buy a car, that debt is always there with you. And so I think part of my goal and my hope with these first-gen college student panels is that we really open up the first-gen students thinking about paying for school, because graduating college with $80,000 of student loan debt is almost an unclimbable hill whenever you're also fighting other things like systemic racism and institutional racism, whenever it comes to accessibility to certain types of jobs, accessibility to certain type of income. And so to answer the question, did I go to college because I wanted to make money? I went to college because I didn't have a choice, and my family didn't give me another choice aside from going to the military, and I knew I didn't want to do that. But also, I guess I thought that I would make more money than I ended up making the first 10 years of my career, because I just thought that going to college, I would graduate college, I would get a great job, and then I would pay back my student loans. But there's also the very, very real reality that a lot of first-gen college students, when they graduate college and they get their first good job, you're still taking care of your family. Like, you're still the person that probably has the most money in the family. And so everyone is coming to you to help them. And that is an extra expense that I think a lot of people who are not first gen college students or come from low income households, it's something they don't have to think about. And so, if I can encourage you in any way, it's to get as many scholarships as you can, take as many grants as you can, is find as many ways as you can to try to pay for college without amassing so much debt. Because the reality is that I'm 34 years old and I still have $80,000 of student loan debt. Not because I haven't made payments on it, but because the interest continues to make it where it looks like I haven't made any payments on it. So that's what I'll say about that. Lola?
I'm trying to gather my thoughts. Wait, what was the original question? I'm sorry, my ADHD brain is like on overdrive today.
My question is that was your intention to go to college
to make money? Okay, yeah. Yeah, I mean, well, I think for my parents, the intention was for me to make money. I've also thought a lot and talked a lot about like, because I was like lower middle class. I don't know whether I would have considered us like upper lower. I don't know. My dad worked 2 blue collar jobs. My mom didn't work. She was a stay-at-home mom. And my mom was like very insistent, especially on me as a cis female, that like she wanted me to be able to get a job so that I could support myself. So I would never depend on someone else. That specifically was like very important to her. And like as an adult, like now I realize it's probably because she, you know, didn't really feel that independence being a stay-at-home mom. So it was very, very important to her that I not depend on anyone else. So that meant getting like a good enough job. And definitely I also grew up believing and like being indoctrinated into that whole like, if you get a bachelor's degree, you'll make enough money to pay back your loans. Like you'll get a good enough job to pay back your loans. And now I feel like every millennial will tell you that that's bullshit. I don't know if we can curse on this. I'm sorry if we can't. But that's a bunch of bull honky is the truth. And I don't understand they're still peddling that story to people, because now I have students who tell me where they got into school, and I'm like, oh well, how are you going to pay for it? And they're like, oh, I'm just going to take out loans. Like the counselor said that I could, I would make enough money to pay it back. And I'm like, what? They told you what? Like they still tell that same story? Like, no, please, no. My, yeah, all of my student debt, says otherwise. I too am 10 years out of college and still in student debt from undergrad and from my master's in library science. I don't have any debt from my master's in English that I actually finished because I worked while I went back for my master's. Because I figured it out. I worked and I only took as many classes as I could pay for that semester. And I was very lucky at the time that my partner could pay for our living expenses while I went back to school. So, yeah, I definitely recommend figuring out as many ways as possible to like not end up in debt. Because yeah, I mean, I have paid a lot on my debt, and yet it looks like I have paid nothing. I'm still like really hoping that, Biden might actually deliver on his promise of forgiving some of student debt. But oh, and when you get married, you take on all your partner's debt too. So between the two of us, we have a lot. Going back to
not you scaring the students into not getting married.
For real, for real. Some of us are down bad.